Run it up, then run it back. Run it up, then run it back. Run it up, run it back. Run it up.
Thursday, look at us. We're just so cool. We're three cool people hanging out. Run it back. FanDuel TV. We're sending our love to Shams. Feeling kind of crappy today. Feel better. But we got Chandler P. Lou Will here. We got a lot of games to talk about. So why don't we jump right on it? Hello, Sacramento Kings. I never got this one because I thought the Lakers were favored in this, maybe by a point. Didn't know why. And now we know, because Sacramento has now swept the season series. 120-107 last night. Damontas Sabonis, 17 points, 19 rebounds, 10 assists. That is a league-leading 23rd triple-double of the season. Austin Reeves had his 28. Anthony Davis with 22 and 10. Look, 4-0. Kings have owned the Lakers this season. Why do we think that is, Chandler?
You could go a lot of ways here with this, but honestly, I think they are a better basketball team. I think they've been more consistent. I think they're going to start to pull away. And when you look at these standings here too against the Lakers, you know how earlier we were talking about the Pacers played the Bucks, they own them, they dominate. That's true during the regular season, but you know how hard it is to beat a team 5 times. So if they do get them into play, and that's going to be a critical game. There's all this film they can study on. There's all these adjustments they can make. You do feel confident if you're the Kings that you clearly have the recipe to succeed against this team, whether it's matchups or certain coverages or what they're doing. I think they really struggle when they're fronting the post, they're doubling AD. When they don't turn the balls over, they're getting back in transition, which stops LeBron's strength. So there's a lot of things that they're doing on the court that helps. But also for the Lakers, it's like, okay, they're not going to beat them every single game. So in the back of your head, you're saying, okay, they got us, that's fine. But if we happen to play them in the play-in, when it matters, it's going to be a different story. But when you look at the Kings and their path and their schedule coming up, they're now tied for the Suns in the 6th spot. And if I'm one of those teams, I don't want to be in that play-in. I don't want to be having to play 1 or 2 games for my season to determine my fate to get into the playoffs, to possibly play the Thunder or the Minnesota Timberwolves. So the Kings are in a good shape. Obviously, they own the Lakers this year, and they're extremely confident if they do have to face them in the play-in or in the postseason. But you got to give credit to Sabonis. You got to give credit to Fox. Last night, Harrison Barnes was great, knocking down a bunch of threes. So when they have a balanced attack like that, and you have Sabonis throwing in triple-double and Fox doing what he does, they're a dangerous team.
I like the idea of a team owning another team, but it is interesting to say this is different than the postseason, Lou. But at some point, the Kings will figure it out, right? Have you seen enough out of this Kings team to think maybe this is the season in which the postseason is a little friendlier to them?
No, absolutely not.
Fair enough. They're not ready?
Yeah, let's keep it real. Up until last night, they were still in the play-in. This is a good win, and I don't want to get overly excited about it. I think this is a team that has the talent and have the potential to be a disruptor in the playoffs come postseason. But right now, that's gonna be the position. They're not gonna be favored. They're not gonna get a matchup that's gonna be favorable to them. They're gonna have to show and prove every time out. Right now they're gonna get the Minnesota Timberwolves if the playoffs started right now, or the Los Angeles Clippers, one of the two. Those aren't favorable matchups for them. Even though they have 2 guys who should be all-stars, who should be in a position to put them somewhere, but I don't see it being more favorable. But on the flip side of that coin, it's not going to be favorable for anybody. You look at the top 10 teams, you like all of these teams, and you like what they bring to the table and the talent that they have. And so, like I said, again, up until last night, before beating the Lakers, the Sacramento Kings were in the play-in. So I don't see them steamrolling anybody or having a favorable matchup over anybody going into the postseason.
Let's focus on the big dudes for a second, because Anthony Davis, this is a weird stat, is now 0-10 against Damontas Sabonis. That seems odd to me, Chandler, and can you explain it?
I mean, 10 is a lot. That's a lot of, dominant basketball for a long time. And obviously the teams have been different. The situations have been different. But Sabonis does prevent a mismatch, which is crazy because Anthony Davis is more skilled. But when he plays like he did the other night, and he's aggressive on the glass and he's dominating the boards like that, and he's active and he's blocking shots, he's so much better. And when you see plays like this last night, when Sabonis, it just goes straight at him. He's tough. He's rugged. He's kind of like when you used to guard like a Zach Randolph back in the day, where it's so hard to take that left away, and he's so skilled. He gets to his right, and he somehow, like Zion, finds a way to come back to the left to a little baby hook. He's incredibly strong, which obviously doesn't help when you guard him. So it's just a bad mismatch for a lot of guys. The guy's dominating right now. He's got a crazy, triple doubles this year. Remember when triple doubles used to be like hard to do and used to be a crazy stat? I was talking about this with someone yesterday.
Yeah.
It is just so not watered down, because it still is really hard to do. Like, it's a triple double to me is still impressive, especially like this, where it's not like a guy that's just pounding the ball, running the offense all game long. They go through him a lot, but I don't know, man. Sabonis, the fact that he wasn't an all-star is one of the biggest misses ever. Their team wins. He's a great dude. He's a leader, and the guy can play. There's nothing he can't do on the floor. So 10-0 is crazy. I would never guess that. I got to almost imagine that's the only guy he's, double-digit records undefeated against. That's tough to do.
Ooh, that's interesting. We have to look. It is a 10 is a lot, Lou. I mean, you could spin it however you want, but that 0 is gigantic, and that 10 feels very big.
Yeah, it is what it is. He's dominated this matchup. He's found something in Anthony Davis and the Lakers that works for him individually. And last night was another one of those performances. I rarely see anybody who can muscle and deal with Anthony Davis in the paint the way that Sabonis did last night. So that was an interesting thing to see. And coming down this stretch, I don't see a lot of guys that can do that to Anthony Davis. So that was kind of interesting to see. But to be 10-0 against a guy that you probably could say that he got an all-star spot that probably belonged to you, or one way or another that should have went to a Sacramento Kings guy. This is an interesting matchup.
Well, Lou, you mentioned earlier, like the Kings, they're not a contender. Like, it's because you don't really fear them, right? Like, how most of these teams at the bottom, they'd rather play the Thunder or the Timberwolves than the Nuggets. It's the opposite. It's the same for the other teams. You'd rather play the Kings, I think, in a series than the Lakers, than the Warriors, than the Mavs. For some reason, whatever it is, how good this duo is, you just don't fear the Sacramento Kings. And that's a matchup that I think a lot of teams would be very confident if they drew them in the playoffs.
Which is crazy, because you look at the season, the Sacramento Kings have played better against and over all three of those teams. But I guess it comes down to reputation and star power. When you hear Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving, LeBron James, Anthony Davis, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, you kind of overlook the Sacramento Kings when you throw De'Aaron Fox and Sabonis in that mix for whatever reason. And they've played just as well as any of those teams. So I don't know.
We got to see it. I think once we see them do it, it will change the narrative moving forward. But there's something to it for now. We got a quote here, Lou, from D'Angelo Russell. The timing's weird. Public humiliation has done nothing but mold me into the killer that you all see today. And then he went 2 for 9 for 6 points last night. Damn it, D'Lo. Timing's everything, Lou. But the quote.
We got to give it context. We got to give it context. Go. He said this a few days ago after his 40.
Right after, but then you have to keep it going. You can't say this.
I'm in agreement with you. I agree with you 1,000%. But, I think this is fair. This is something fair for him to say. He's been scrutinized and criticized the entirety of his career. Now, granted, I'm going to keep it real at all times. Some of these little things are self-inflicted, with some of the things that transpired from even my time when I was with the Lakers. He was still a young guy and just did some immature things and got some public criticisms because of those things. And so that kind of created this, I don't want to say hate, but it kind of created this cloud over D'Angelo Russell that people love to pick on, people love to have something to say. And he's persevered through it all. He's played well through it all. He's been able to affect the win column for a couple different teams that he's played on. And now he's back with the Lakers playing really good basketball. He's having one of the better years of his career. So even though he didn't play well last night, he's been playing well this season and putting himself in a position to be successful. So I think this is true. I think this is something that he's used as motivation and moved him forward.
Yeah, and you got to give him credit too, because this could have just as easy went the other way, and he clamped up and he didn't perform and he couldn't overcome this, public humiliation that he's he's talking about. And like Lou said, he's done some things that, you know, as a teammate, as a franchise, it's tough to overcome and it's tough to overlook. But I understand what he's saying. Like when I was in Memphis, I was publicly humiliated every single day, whether that was a fan being a dick to me at a restaurant or that was media, you know, people on Twitter, whatever. That happens. And a lot of time that makes you so closed off and it makes you cold, and it kind of, I'm a happy-go-lucky person. It made me an asshole. And I'd see someone at the store and they'd ask for a picture, and I'd think that they were, you know, going to just use this picture and clown me on, and I would say no. And it makes you cold. So everything that he's went through with the media and the fans, and he opened up about his relationship with Dennis Schroeder. Clearly there's something there where they had a beef, and that was, you know, hurting his relationship with Darvin Ham. But I understand what he's doing. This is why Kobe created Black Mamba. This is why people kind of get in that zone where, you know, okay, it's me against the world. You guys want to hate me, I'm going to hate you more. You guys want to talk shit, I'm going to talk more shit. And I think that's what he's saying this. And to his credit, he's been playing really, really good. But to hear your name in the trade deadline, to hear all this stuff, it's a team shopping you basically, and then you got to go right back. It's like a girl kind of wants to break up with you, then she doesn't. You got to go back home to her. It's kind of an awkward situation. So the fact that he has been mature enough and to handle it and been, you know, playing a high level basketball, you got to give him his props for that. But yeah, there's been certain situations also where, like Lou said, kind of self-inflicted. But when you get in mindset and you're in that corner, you kind of do things that are out of character.
I mean, look, that was well put, Chandler. But for the record, you're always an asshole. It's just a different kind. From day
yeah,
to
but
day.
I can be a lot bigger asshole. And sometimes when people push you and push you and push you, it comes out. He's only human.
I know, I get it. It's just timing. Timing sucks, man. You hate for that to happen. All right, we'll move on to the Warriors Mavericks. Some news out of this one, but the Mavs do defeat Golden State by 10. Luka's triple-double streak ended. Kyrie, though, 23, 8, and 10. Luka was short on the rebounds, the assists, but he also left early with a hamstring injury, which I hope is not a big deal. But we haven't talked a ton about Kyrie Irving this season because it has been a lot of Luka. But he's got, 25 points a game, 49% shooting, 42 from three over the course of the season, Lou. Do we just overlook him simply because we talk so much about Luka?
Of course. I mentioned yesterday, it's so many guys with these gaudy big numbers and having these historical runs on the stat sheets that, sometimes other guys that are playing really well and playing consistently can be overlooked. And because of that, he's standing right next to one of the guys that's doing that. He's the backcourt mate of Luka Doncic. And Luka is having another historical season. He's putting up historical numbers, and Kyrie has been able to fly under the radar because of that. And still be able to play really good basketball for the Dallas Mavericks, even though, they're sitting 8th in the West and they haven't played as well as they would like to as a team. Individually, Luka Doncic has had one of the better seasons of his career, and he's standing right next to him. So it's easy to get overlooked because of that.
Yeah, and here's the thing. It's not like we might not talk about him a lot, but you better believe that on every team they face, he's the second thing they talk about. People aren't sleeping on Kyrie Irving on the court. And I think just all the drama that surrounded his name the last couple of seasons, no one's ever doubted his production on the floor. He's always been one of the best. He's always been one of the most fun to watch. And now he's available. Everything he went through in Brooklyn and everything, which again was kind of self-inflicted, but we've been talking about Kyrie for so long in a negative light that now we're not. And now he's just hooping. And now it's almost probably got to be a relief for him that we're not even really talking about how well he's doing, let alone, the negative things we've been talking about in the past. So I think it's a great situation for him. The fact that he's not the first option, he's not the guy getting double teamed every single night, and he's got the freedom to go at people one-on-one and play off Luka and knock down shots and still do it in a really efficient way, shooting almost 42% from three. He's getting the best looks he arguably has gotten in his career, and that's a lot to do with the way people defend Luka Doncic. So he's having a great year. Hopefully Luka's hamstring is not bad, because that would be an absolute, that would be the end of the Dallas Mavericks this season. But Kyrie Irving has been huge, and you're right. We haven't talked about him because Luka's been so good, but I think it's a good thing. Like, let's let Kyrie Irving do what he does and hoop.
I mean, if you if it matters to you, Luka did travel with the team to OKC. I want to move to Daniel Gafford in a second, but I have one really quick question about Kyrie that's ego related, because obviously everyone in this world has very healthy egos. Do you think there's a little part of him that is bugged by the fact that we don't talk about him at all anymore, or does he actually enjoy this peace and quiet?
I'm sure part of it, everyone wants to be praised. Everyone wants to be talked about, but he's been in this situation before. He's played with LeBron James. He's played with Kevin Durant. He's played with really good players that get most of the attention and most of the notoriety. But that's not to say, Kyrie Irving's still a Hall of Fame basketball player, all NBA, all-star, he's still got a crazy resume and he still has respect. And real hoopers know Kyrie Irving is nasty. He's one of the best ball handlers, one of the best ISO players. It's one of the best point guards we've ever seen. So I think he understands his value, his credit. But yeah, part of him is probably, look at me. And he probably thinks he's better than Luka. You know what I mean? Like as an athlete, you have that drive. But I don't think there's any like bitterness towards Luka here.
Why are you smiling, Lou?
Yeah, why are you smiling?
What are you up to?
What's going on over there?
I just, every once in a while I don't get enough sleep and I feel a little silly, man. So I was.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right.
Look, I agree with Chandler though, man. It's just, he's played against a lot of people. I don't think this bothers him.
No, I think it's a lovely piece. I would enjoy it if I was him. Okay, this next thing I think is, I don't know, maybe should be talked about more, but Daniel Gafford, it's 33 consecutive field goals he's got going right now. That is only 2 shy of the record that Wilt Chamberlain got back in 1967. I find this to be oddly very impressive just because, we watch enough basketball. You're like, how have you not missed in 33 shots, Chandler? Am I crazy?
Michelle, it might as well say 33 consecutive dunks.
Well, okay. But people miss those too.
By the way, it's only happened with one other guy, Will. So the fact that like Dwight Howard or these other guys that didn't do this is pretty crazy. Like it's a crazy record. I think one of the most
different
stats.
You don't like it? You don't think it's a big deal?
Efficient.
Huh?
I mean, I get. Listen,
I'm only arguing what Chandler said. Go ahead, Chandler.
Okay.
The way he's doing it isn't that impressive. It's not like a Kevin Durant. It's not like a mid-range taking DeMar DeRozan hitting 33 shots in a row. It's for the most part he's getting spoon-fed at the rim, but again he's also finishing, and I haven't seen every single basket. I imagine a lot of them are dunks, and I bet a lot of them are alley-oops where he's literally catching the ball and putting it in the rim. So I think it's a cool stat. I think he's aware now of this record. I guarantee you the next 2 will be dunks or layups. It's not like he's going to take a pull up at the end of the shot clock in the next game. No. Like he's going to gut him for this record. But yeah, I mean, it's great. This is what Luka needed. He needed a great lob threat like Lively. You saw how good Lively was with him now. And now Gafford gives him just another option. And it's great. I hope he breaks the record. But is it the most impressive record I've ever seen in my life?
No. Okay, for the record, 30 of the 33 are at the rim. But in fairness, we've seen plenty of dudes also catch a lob
100%.
And blow it. So
and there's been a lot of big rim running.
So what's the math on that? That's 15 assists for Luka? Those are all lobs.
Like, yeah, it's.
To his credit, like you said, he is finishing those. He is finishing. That's part of it. But like a Dwight Howard, we're not throwing the ball to him in the post. Ask him to go get us a bucket where he's playing with his back to the basket, and these are hook shots or these are finishes. No, like he's eating off the land, and that land is Luka Doncic world.
By the way, since I've said that it's probably exhausting playing with Luka Doncic, this guy's got 33 straight alley-oops at the rim from Luka. That didn't really age
Daniel Gafford is just fine. He happy as hell playing with Luka.
Not everyone gets the same benefits. Okay, so 33, I get it. What is a normal sort of streak for shots made in a row? Do you guys even keep track of things like that?
I mean, during a game, if you're
the most I've ever made was 9. That was it.
Okay. All right. Those are shots.
And that was in one game. Shots. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, like the game I hit the 10 threes in half, that was 10 threes in a row. I think that's harder to do than 33 dunks.
There you go. Now that's impressive. This is impressive too. We're not gonna take anything.
We're not going to hate on this. No one's done it before. No one's done it before.
Exactly.
It's definitely impressive. I am just saying, I'd be way more blown away if it was, Grayson Allen or Bradley Beal hitting 33 jumpers and threes. You know what I mean? Like,
well, sure. That would be crazy. All right. So one of the buckets we can show, it's got a good video. It's Doncic, but there's a nutmeg involved. And unfortunately for Klay Thompson, he is the victim in this one. Where is that in the embarrassing things that can happen? Because it feels like it might be big.
I don't think so.
Not at all.
I think it's embarrassing.
Basketball.
It looks embarrassing to a fan. That's normal.
Yeah, to a fan, but you asking two former players. We don't this is nothing.
Yeah, this is.
It looks cool, but it's nothing.
So that happens to you. You're not madder.
Pass.
Well, yeah, of course it's a great pass, but it would look, you don't get madder at that than a different way of sort of being showed up. Interesting.
No, because you know what it is? It's actually bad. It's bad defense, if anything, because your legs are spread wide open when you're supposed to be in a different type of stance than that. I'm no defensive specialist, so I won't go into a long monologue about that. But yeah, this is anticlimactic. This is not even a big thing to even talk about.
Crazy
Yeah, I
because it
honestly
looks
think
cool.
the finish by Gafford's almost more impressive than the pass to me, honestly.
There you go. See, that's
That
one
was
of
and
33.
that was bucket number 32.
Yeah.
Like, by the way, he could have easily just missed that dunk. So you got to give him credit for finishing for sure.
I'm giving him mad credit. Well, we mentioned the Luka situation where he left with a hamstring injury. And of course, the triple-double streak has ended. He did get on a plane to go to OKC with the team. He, of course, and this seems to be year after year we talk about, has the highest usage rate in the league. I know MVP is an award on its own, but you could make the argument that Luka to his team is by far the most valuable. Could you not, Chandler?
Yeah, I mean, he's got the ball, the most, but you look at guys like Jokic, look how important Joel Embiid is to the Philadelphia 76ers. I mean, they stink without him, and they were at home court advantage with him. So, there's a lot of guys that have crazy impact on their team. Luka is one of them, but I will say, another guy on this team averaging 25 points a game that can carry a team, and they have enough talent. They're deep enough to where they can still tread water and win games. So I don't know if he's the most important, but yeah, he's their everything. I'll tell you this. If I expect them to advance and win, depending on their matchup in the first round, if Luke is out, no chance. No chance.
Agree, though? No chance at all. I think that's fair.
I don't care who they play. If Luke is not in that first round, they're losing.
Anybody on the standings, you don't care who they play. If he's out,
New
they're not
Orleans
winning.
Pelicans will beat them, and anybody I think would beat them without Luka Doncic in the first round.
That's a bad place to
I
live.
feel like that about a few guys though. So I don't know.
Yeah, it's true.
It feels daunting.
I feel like we could do a whole segment here, but let's say the Mavs with Luka,
Yeah.
are the 8th seed, and the Nuggets are the 1st seed, but Jokic is out. Do you think the Nuggets beat the Mavs in a series?
Ooh.
Right. Like who do we like in the Jamal Murray Kyrie Irving matchup? So it gets tricky.
I think
Joel
I like
Embiid. Yeah, Joel Embiid actually went out, and that changed everything that we thought about the Philadelphia 76ers, and it showed in the play. They're still a good basketball team, but they're a really good basketball team with Joel Embiid. They had championship aspirations with him in the lineup. Now, they're fighting for home court advantage still.
This is why I love the Clippers and the Suns. Kawhi Leonard's out. Oh, bummer. We got James Harden and Paul George. Bradley Beal's out. We got Kevin Durant and Devin Booker. It's when his team is so reliable, like a Jokic, and even with the Celtics, Tatum goes out, Brown goes out, that would be devastating. But at least they have those other guys and Holiday and Kate, they have pieces. Jokic, Joel, Luka, those guys, it stings if those guys are out.
I feel like you're taking away from this is actually perfect timing because we are going to talk Nuggets right now because some guys stepped up last night in big ways as the Nuggets beat Miami in Miami. It's, of course, the finals rematch, 100-88. Michael Porter Jr. had a big night, 25 points. Jokic with his 12 and 14 rebounds. Bam! 17 points, 13 rebounds. They have now won, Denver has, 10 of their last 11, and they are, as predicted, sitting first in the West. I know everyone talks Boston, 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 Boston. Are we ready to start having the conversation of it's probably going to be Denver? At least that's my opinion. Chandler?
Yeah, and you just said it's a good little saggy to the Nuggets. A lot of people stepped up. Like Michael Porter Jr. has had a great season, right? You think he's getting these looks if Jokic isn't on the floor? Like, you know what I mean? You think a lot of that is because they have a Jokic, is because they have a Jamal Murray. So yes, these guys know their role, and we don't talk about the Nuggets too much. I think outside the Celtics, this is the second best, arguably the first best starting five. Aaron Gordon, KCP, and Porter are such perfect fits what they do and how they play and move the ball on the offensive mind. Aaron Gordon is the perfect small ball forward with Jokic that does all the dirty work, that can catch lobs, that's physical. Porter Jr. is shooting at a crazy clip. I want to pull up his numbers real quick because he takes a lot of threes, and he's shooting 40%.
That's what I was looking for.
Yeah, 40% from three and 49% from the field. That's great numbers because the kid used to take horrible shots, and he still kind of hoists them. Now he's getting open looks. He's almost playing more slower. He's playing more mature. And a lot of that is because he's getting great looks because all the attention Jokic gets. So this starting five is nasty, and we don't talk about them enough, and they just continue to go through this season business as usual and win games. And don't look now, but they're the number one seed, just like we thought they'd be at the beginning of the season.
I think they're playing with their
Chandler,
food.
You know how it. Yeah, because this is how it goes. When you get to the top of the mountain, you win a championship, or you have a deep playoff run. The regular season is so boring to you because you're ready for the excitement from the crowd. You're ready for the big games. You're ready for that spotlight. You're ready to go through another championship run, and I think that's what Denver did. They were sitting there being idle, being just good enough. Come out of the All-Star break, their mentalities change, and everybody is locked in, ready themselves for another deep playoff run, and that's what you're seeing from this team. I remember when I was with the Sixers, we were fighting for standings in our conference, and we were playing really well all year, and then ended up giving it away to the Boston Celtics. And I remember KG saying, "Yo, we appreciate y'all babysitting that spot for us." And that's always stuck with me throughout the course of my career because it pissed me off. We played so well all year just to give them the number one spot at the end. But that taught me that veteran teams, they play dead until it's time to really turn the lights on and flip that switch on. And I think that's what Denver has done. Denver has let a lot of teams feel good and build a lot of confidence just to come out of the All-Star break and prove that they're the best team in the West still.
And you're so right. And looking at their schedule, they play the Spurs 2 more times. They play the Grizzlies 2 more times. Like, they're not going to get up for those games. But looking at this, they do play Minnesota 3 more times. So that will be fun to see what they. And I guarantee you, they get up for those games. And so you're right. When you're at the top and you win a championship, to go to San Antonio on a Friday, no offense, Michelle, like they're not getting up for that game. You know you're going to win. You know that's almost a game you can rest Jokic, rest Jamal Murray if they're banged up, and still try and get out of there to win.
Yeah, rest them, because if that gets me a Wemby quad, I'm in.
It won't matter.
Give me.
It won't matter, Beadle.
Yeah, it won't
I need
matter.
a quadruple double. Let me have it.
It is whipping outside. Sorry, it is so windy.
Is this our new segment, the Chandler weather windbreak? Go ahead, tell us about it.
I mean, it's nuts.
Okay, there it is. That was sponsored. We'll get it sponsored. Let me ask you, because you guys are mentioning playoffs, and Lou, you talked about how the good teams sort of just play dead, then they wake up. Jamal Murray's talking about he wants to be the best ever, strives to be the greatest. There are certain dudes, though, that can be better in the playoffs, and then unfortunately for others, some seem to kind of shut down. What is the difference between, say, a Jamal Murray who knows what he's doing versus another guy who I won't name, who just seems to sort of shrivel up come playoff time?
Yeah, so when we start talking about guys being overlooked, Jamal Murray's picture should be in the dictionary for this, man. Like, never made an All-Star game. Out of all of these top point guards that we champion so much, he's one of the few that's actually won a championship. And, you know, even though he's gotten paid handsomely to be, you know, the Robin to Batman, he's the best player a lot of these nights. He's going to be one of those type of guys. And so for him, he still has that chip on his shoulder. He still feels overlooked and underrated. And so I think that's one of the things that works for him better than a lot of these guys. He doesn't have the accolades that a lot of them have, but I guarantee you a lot of them wish they had the championship that he had. But like I mentioned, he's never been an all-star. Name's never in the news. He's never talked about when it comes to the top point guards in the league, but he just quietly gets better and better every year. And look, 23-7 over his last 10 games, and we're still not talking about him. So for him to still be positive and say he's just striving for greatness and he's not using this as a negative thing, kudos to Jamal Murray.
I like it.
Yeah,
I like it.
It's crazy because if we name the top 5 point guards in the NBA right now, we wouldn't name Jamal Murray.
No,
One name
it seems
him, yeah.
bloody rude. Seems very, very rude. I guess we should talk one thing about Miami, and specifically it's to Jimmy Butler, who had only 2 free throws in this one. That feels weird. After the game, Coach Spoelstra said he thinks that the NBA has changed its officiating emphasis since the All-Star break. Have you guys seen evidence of that, Chandler?
No, and looking at the stats, there wasn't very many free throws either for Denver last night either. So it's when the discrepancy is so big, I feel like that's when a team or a coach has like a real issue. Like if I get 10 free throws and the other team gets 30, I'm pissed off. Especially if I'm like the Heat and I'm a tough team. And Jimmy Butler, he's posting up, he's getting to the rim, he's trying to draw contact, and for him to take 2 free throws, that is tough. But again, this is something that. I don't think this is anything. I think we're never happy, right? We're calling too many fouls and it's too slow. And we changed the rule because of a James Harden type thing where he's shooting too many free throws and SGA shooting too many free throws. Now on a night like this, they're not calling enough fouls. It's the word. I always say it's the worst job in the world, being a referee. No matter what, every time you blow that whistle, half the court is pissed at you. You're never right. It's awful. I would never want that job, but. I don't know. We're never happy when it comes to officials. It's either they're doing too much, let us play, and then when they don't, it's like, come on. Like, so it's, I don't know. It's kind of psychotic to me.
We're the worst. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, it's another edition of the Panic Button when Run It Back returns.
Run it back, run it up, run it back.
Well, this is a tough time to be hitting panic buttons because there's not a lot of calendar left in this season, but we will start, Chandler, with the Timberwolves. Obviously, some bad luck. Game back in the West of first, but no Karl Anthony Towns for at least 4 weeks because he did have that surgery. Ugh. Are you hitting their panic button on them finishing first?
Oh, on finishing first. I didn't see that. Yeah, it's a wrap for them finishing first. I think the Nuggets got it. Am I hitting the panic button on their season? No, not at all. I think they found something. I think they've had a great year. To lose your second best player right now going into the playoffs, and he had meniscus surgery. I can't imagine unless they make a deep run that he comes back. Am I panicking on the number 1 seed? Yes, but they still have an opportunity to get a 2 or 3 seed and still get a favorable matchup. But it's going to be tough regardless who they draw. Again, this is kind of a team like Sacramento. They don't really fear them. They haven't shown us before they can win in the postseason. So I'm not panicking. I think this is a great season regardless of what happens. They have a lot to build on, but the number 1 seed ain't happening.
So panic button. Yeah,
I think they're still in same. I think they're still in a really good position. They won't get that number 1 seed back. I think it's a couple of teams that are turning the corner playing well. Give OKC credit. We thought they were a fluke as well, and they're the real deal. Minnesota's still the real deal, but when injuries started to peak in, that's going to put you at a disadvantage, and Denver is playing really good basketball right now, so I don't see them getting that number 1 seed back. But like Chandler just mentioned, they'll still get a favorable matchup and still start the playoffs at home.
All right, so that's optimistic. We will move, Lou, to you now because the Clippers, as you have been championing them all season long, 7-8 over the last 15. And, of course, we saw Kawhi Leonard go out the other night with the back spasms. Panic button on the Clippers winning the West, yes or no?
I'm a tap the button. I'm not gonna push it down just yet. I'm a just tap. I'm a tap on it. I don't like Kawhi being out. We don't know what that looks like in the long term. Obviously, Russell Westbrook is out with a broken hand, and that team was built to be whole. From the point of Russell Westbrook saying that he would be the guy to come off the bench to give them that balance. And when you don't have that guy off the bench, you're relying on other guys. You know, Bones Highland is really talented. He's a really good piece for them. But, you know, even he was out of the lineup for a while because of Russell Westbrook and matchups that they wanted in lineups. And so now with Kawhi back being a little banged up, Russell being out, it's a little tricky. I still feel like they have enough. I still feel like they're talented enough to get out of the West, to give themselves a chance to fight for a championship against somebody out of the East. But, you know, when you look at the landscape of the West, you look at the Denvers and all of these other teams, you know, they're clicking right now when the Clippers look like they're in a little bit of a tailspin. And so I'm not completely panicking, but I'm a little worried.
All right, tapped. Chandler, you tapping it or you hitting it? That was weird.
You tapping it, Chandler, or you hitting it?
That was,
You know, Chandler.
that out.
You look, don't ask Chandler that.
Jeez. Here's the thing. I think the Nuggets are the only team that they can't beat in a series. So am I panicking? Kind of, because I don't think they can beat the Nuggets, but I think they're in a good situation because I think they can beat every other team. And if they happen
So you're tapping it. You're tapping it.
Tapping it.
Yeah, I'll
It's
tap
tapped.
it.
Okay, perfect. The Suns. So the Big Three has officially played 24 games together, and they got 17 of those bad boys left. Chandler, are you hitting the panic button on this being enough time for them to reach, I guess, their peak as a trio?
No, I'm not panicking on this trio because I think that's plenty of games. I think it's unfortunate that we haven't seen a lot of it, you know, to this point of the season. But these guys, they're so good, and they've been doing it for a long time, and they know how to play off each other. So would I have liked to see a lot more time for these guys and to have the chemistry build and kind of have every understanding of, you know, roles and substitution patterns and offensive sets and who's where? Yeah, but these guys are vets. They're experienced. They all know how to score. They all know how to play with good players. They all know how to play on the ball, with the ball, off the ball. So I'm not panicking. These guys are elite at what they do, and I think 17 games – listen, I doubt all three of them play all 17 of these games, but
True.
if they can play the majority of those or even half of those, I'm confident in the Suns going in the postseason with these three guys healthy.
Lou, 17 seems good.
I'm not panicking.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not panicking. Even though we haven't seen it, that's plenty of time. And in the NBA, talent wins games. And who's more talented than Devin Booker and Kevin Durant, Bradley Beal, and the rest of that cast that they got? So have we seen it? Absolutely not. They haven't been consistent. Absolutely not. But if anybody can figure it out, they got the firepower to do it. So I'm not panicking.
All right, defense time. Yeah, we know the Mavericks won. They beat the Warriors. They did it without Steph being on that floor. But they are allowing just over 119 points a game, which is fifth worst since the All-Star break. Lou, are you hitting the panic button that come playoffs, this Mavs team will not be able to get things done?
It's gonna be tough. That's been one of their issues this entire season. It hadn't been offense. You know, you got two of the most gifted offensive players on your basketball team, but you're still sitting at 8 in the West, and I think that's because of, you know, the defensive woes that they have, and so come playoffs, I feel like anybody can win games when you're getting stops. That just hadn't been their MO, so I'm panicking.
Yeah, and this is like the Pacers, like the Bucks, like the Mavs. They're so gifted and so good offensively. This isn't what they hang their hat on. They try and outscore you. They try and out-talent you on the offensive end. So that's what they do. So if they can, when the game slows down, they can continue to score, you know, 120 points and give up 119.9 points. They're gonna win games, and that's what they're gonna have to do.
Yeah, they're gonna have to score a lot of points. All right, Chandler. Yeah, they beat the Pelicans, but the Cavs right now are 7-8 over their last 15, and they still don't have Evan Mobley. I know they're sitting there with the Bucks, and they're tied in 2-3. Are you hitting the panic button on them being able to secure the 2 seed in the East?
Yes, I think it's the Milwaukee Bucks that are going to get the 2 seed, which is a shame because the Cavs, well, I talked about it last week or earlier this week when they were fully healthy and everyone was in that lineup. They went on a run and they looked great. But unfortunately, Donovan Mitchell's been out. Garland missed a lot of time early. Now it's Mobley and Strus's turn. So they've consistently had 2-3 starters out all year long, minus that one stretch where I think they won 10 out of 12 games or something crazy. So yes, I'm panicking on the, them not getting the 2 seed. Is that the biggest deal? No, because if it ended tomorrow and they were the 3 seed, they'd get the Philadelphia 76ers without Joel Embiid. And I think they would advance and survive. And then who knows what happens in the second round. But I don't see them getting past Milwaukee. I don't see them getting past Boston, but I think they still have enough to salvage the season, feel good about this season, feel good about, re-signing Donovan Mitchell and going into next season with a year older, a year more mature. But they're tied exactly the same record, 42-24. I got the Bucks getting the 2 seed.
Bucks getting the 2 seed.
Yeah, I'm panicking as well. I'm looking at it right here. Exact record as the Milwaukee Bucks. Cleveland not playing their best basketball. I got Milwaukee walking this down, so I'm definitely panicking.
You think Boston's safe with the 9.5 game lead to lock in the number 1 spot there?
Right.
I think so. Okay, how about this though? Because Miami is one of those teams, guys, we just can't figure out and don't want to bet against them, but they've lost 4 straight, and now they're sitting in that 8th spot. Are we hitting the panic button on them avoiding the play-in? Is there a shot that that's where they fall to, Lou?
Only one game.
Looks like that's where it looks.
Yeah.
He chances to avoid the play-in. I don't see them avoiding it right now. This is usually one of those teams like Denver. Denver is a team that's come out of the All-Star break and proven, hey, we're one of the top teams and we're ready enough to go. Usually Miami is one of those teams. It looked like they're in a tailspin right now and they're going backwards a little bit. Even though I really like this team all the ways when it comes to the playoffs, they're always one of the tougher teams, but right now it looked like they're going backwards. And so I'm panicking. I think they're destined for the play-in right now.
I'll tell you this. Can you imagine having the season that the Boston Celtics have, dominate all year long, and then here you go. Here's the 8 seed Miami Heat in the first round, fully healthy and loaded. That would be a bummer. I'd want to play anybody else other than them, but they're getting that 1 seed. So we're going to see the play-ins this year are going to be so much fun because we don't know who's going to get out in the West. Think about the West. It's the Kings, the Mavs, the Lakers, the Warriors. All those teams can do it. And then you look at this, it makes sense that it's the Pacers Heat. I don't think the Bulls Hawks, I don't think they deserve to be in the playoffs. So either way, it's gonna be exciting.
They don't deserve to. Yeah, that one's not quite as sexy now, is it? Doesn't feel the same as the West. All right, Steph Curry. Steph Curry's birthday's today. Oh, happy 36th. But he's also missed last 3 games. And since the break, he was only averaging 21 on 38% shooting. I feel bad even using the word only because there are days where he's kind of doing everything. But Chandler, are we hitting the panic button on Steph's ability to lead this Warriors team into something in the postseason?
No, I can't panic when it comes to anything with Steph Curry. And you see last night, the problem with him now is when Chris Paul doesn't have that vintage Chris Paul game and Klay Thompson doesn't go bananas, they lose. And so it takes kind of great big games from those other guys when Steph is out. That's a huge ask, but no, I can see it. I can literally see a scenario where they win the play-in game, they get that 7 or 8 seed, and then they match up with the Thunder or the you know what I mean? Who knows? I'm not counting them. I'm not counting them out just yet. It's going to be a dogfight for them to even advance in the play-in, but they have the experience, they have the talent. Again, it's 2 games. It's like March Madness. It's 1 or 2 games. So all hands on deck for those games. I guarantee you Steph Curry, unless he literally has surgery, he ain't missing those games. So no, I'm not panicking. I trust and believe in Steph Curry probably more than anybody ever in the NBA. Like, I love him. So I'm riding him.
Yeah, I'm not
We're
panicking
using
either,
some wild terminology.
Yep, we got a lot of words being thrown around today, guys. It's a weird show. Look.
Yeah, I'm sure we're going viral at some point today, but I'm not panicking at all. If there's anybody that I'm sure. Oh yeah,
Sorry, Lou.
It's getting wild today.
Oh, jeez.
We're a little loopy on this. Usually Thursdays are our Fridays, so we get a little loopy on this day. You know what I'm saying? And so
we're not used to it yet.
Listen, I'm not panicking. If there's one guy that I trust, it's gonna be Steph Curry, and if there's another guy I trust, it's gonna be LeBron James. I was talking about this last night with my friends. Usually, we talk about them meeting at the end of the road. They're starting this playoff run off the right way. Let's get it understood now. We're gonna play this game, and may the best man win, and we're gonna continue on to the playoffs. So when Steph gets back on the floor, I'm sure he'll be hungry to prove himself. Happy birthday. It's your 36th birthday. It's also my mom's 60th today, so happy birthday to my mom as well. But I'm not panicking at all.
Yeah, by the way, Adam Silver couldn't be happier in the play-in. It's like, all right, here we go. Steph versus LeBron and KD versus Luka. Like, go. Like that's awesome.
Yeah, let's get this out the way. Let's get it done right now.
It's like the best case scenario.
How those Twins doing over there, Chandler? You looking out the window? Are you all right?
It's absolute bonkers.
Okay. Can we predict a miles per hour before we go to break so we can get a real image?
I think we're going to touch 35 here before 8 a.m.
Ooh, you don't say. All right. Hopefully we'll get more wind updates on the other side of this break when we return with Run It Back.
Run it up, then run it back. Run it up, run it back.
We figured this was the perfect dunk to throw into the show today. Jamias Ramsey.
Oh.
I mean, that's fun. Vintage.
You can do things like this when you're playing the Pistons.
Wait, didn't the Pistons win last night?
They sure did.
Wow.
Yeah, it don't matter.
You got to start somewhere, Lou. A streak begins. 4 of their last 10. That's
started in October.
40%.
What point of the game was? Do we know? Was this late in the game? Was the game basically over? Because this is a bold move.
Right? He's all by himself. No one cares. Yeah, I don't know. I can't see the scoreboard. Does it matter, though? Does it really matter?
Well, yeah. If this is like the first quarter, and if this is the first quarter, and the score was 12-8, he did this. That's a ballsy move.
That is actually kind of. I can't even tell because when the scoreboard is so quick, can't see it. Dang it! It is fun to watch, though.
You know,
that would be something.
I'm more surprised that the Detroit Pistons still got a lot of fans in there. Salute to Detroit.
I was just thinking that there are a lot of people in that room. Do we think there was a giveaway?
Free wing stop.
Still. That's what's up.
Free wings are a big deal. All right, fair enough. Love the dunk. We will take a quick break and come back, wrap things up on Run It Back. Time for a little prop party, Chandler. Why don't you kick things off for us? We got Suns Celtics tonight.
Wow, that's a great game. And I love the Suns +6. Okay. I think.
Oh, it was 7. Gotcha.
Do you?
They're all three
like a
blank.
7.
Right? I think the big three's out. Yeah, it went down. I like the Suns. I think it's a big game for them. And I love KD over 2.5 threes. I think this will be covered in the first half.
Dang, you're gonna go extra credit on it. All right, Lou.
I got Celtics money line. I got Drew Holiday over 15.5 points. I said it was my mother's 60th birthday. It's actually her 66. I'm a bad son. I'm sorry.
Lou. All right, Booker over points, Nurkic over rebounds. Well, I don't even know. We'll be back tomorrow. Get her something nice.
Run it up, then run it back.